Happy Inauguration Day! It's a very special day for our country, regardless of who you supported, whether you were supporting the Hillary Clinton campaign or whether you're on the Trump train. It's a great day. And on a personal note, it's also a very special and humbling day for me. I've been battling the flu for the last few days and finally am fever-free and feel great. Luckily, just in time for me to attend my last oncology appointment. I have been cancer-free for almost 5 years now. It'll be 5 years in June. So today is hopefully my last appointment. I've been trying to get there for weeks, but he had to cancel for emergencies or whatever. Some of you may or may not know because we just don't talk about it that much, and it's been quite a while. Who can believe it's been almost 5 years? June of 2012 is when I was diagnosed. So I'm traveling to Memphis to West Clinic to see the charming and handsome Dr. Kurt Tower one more time. And I hope, God willing, I never have to come back. My daddy has been discharged. A lot of my other family members have been discharged. My cousin just found out that she has the very same breast cancer that I had and had her first appointment with Dr. Tower this past week. It went swimmingly well as a cancer doctor appointment can go, so we're very excited. But I wanted to give you guys a little background history on what happened to me, just because a lot of you don't know that part of me. Depending on why you started to subscribe, where's my finger? Before you started subscribing to my channel. For whatever reason, here you are. And so, I'll decide to have a little story time. In May of 2012, I was 36 years old and in the middle of my son's baseball season. He was at that point a junior in high school, and licking my lips because they're so dry. The flu affects every morsel of your body, FYI. And I went to have my annual appointment. The year before, I did not get a mammogram, even though my doctor has all of his patients do a 35-year baseline mammogram. I wasn't having it. It was going to make me be late for my son's baseball game, and to me, that's more important. At the time, it was more important to me. So the next year, when I went for my annual, Dr. Sanford said, "Don't think I didn't notice you didn't get your mammogram last year." He said, "You will get one today." And he made sure he walked me down to the mammography lab to make sure that I had got my little gown on and gotten ready to have my boobies squished. Ugh. So I had it done. Nothing was said. A few days later, I get a phone call at school from Memphis Baptist Women's Health Center saying that my mammogram, my biopsy had been scheduled for June the 7th. And I said, "Okay, what biopsy?" And she said, "Oh, you didn't know?" She said, "They found something in your mammogram." And at 36, I did not just stress out completely. Why? I mean, I'm 36. At that point, I was very fit. I ran a couple miles every day. I just was fit and a non-smoker and did not do anything that would put me in the 5% of women. 5%, 75% of women who are diagnosed with breast cancer every year. So I went for my scheduled biopsy. My mother went with me, and they said, "You're so young and so healthy, we're just going to do another mammogram just to make sure." And they said, "We're going to do an ultrasound just to make sure before we go ahead and go through this biopsy, because biopsies are very painful." And I said, "Thanks." Well, then pretty soon, right after that, she said, "We're going to go ahead and go through with the biopsy." The whole time, I was just laughing, joking with my mom. I took a picture. They only had 3X gowns, so I took a picture of me wearing a 3X gown and sent it to my mom. I was like, "Ha ha," you know. cracking up about that, and my biopsy was painful. She said, feel like a wasp thing. Feels like a whole hives of wasps. You lay on this table with your breasts dangling through holes in the bottom of it. And then they take a needle to it. In the spots where they found the quote-unquote calcifications. She told me 9 out of 10 times it's nothing. Everybody has calcifications in their breasts. It's no problem. Don't worry. That's what the nurse at my gynecologist's office said. And she's very smart. I trusted her implicitly. And then after we had my biopsy, the doctor set me up and said, okay, here are your options if it is cancer. And she listed lumpectomy, unilateral mastectomy, which is having 1 breast removed, bilateral mastectomy, having 2 breasts removed. And I was just, okay, this is all part of the protocol when you go through a biopsy. She said, you'll know within 48 hours. The very next day, I, along with 2 other baseball moms, was in Jackson picking up food and supplies for the annual alumni baseball game that we had every year. And we were sitting at Cheddar's and just eating and laughing and talking. I believe we were having some daiquiris or something fun, that moms never get to do. So we were taking advantage of that, and my phone rings. It's that doctor, that surgeon, and she said, honey, I'm sorry, but you've got breast cancer. And I sat there just staring off into space, and my 2 friends who were with me said that I instantly had tears rolling down my cheeks, and so they had no idea who was on the phone, because I didn't share that with people. I didn't let them know that, my close friends and loved ones knew, but it really, in my eyes, wasn't a big deal. And the doctor said, I'm just shocked. She said, I knew it when I saw it yesterday, but I was shocked to see it because normally, medically speaking, African Americans or overweight women or heavy smokers are way more likely to get breast cancer at this age, at 36. And she said, you are none of the above. You had literally a 1% chance to get this disease, and I'm just floored, and I am so, so sorry. So the whole time she's talking, I was just checked out. I was just staring across. I heard her, but I was just crying. And I finally handed the phone to one of my friends, and she finished talking to the doctor and found out why I was so upset. Well, there I was in Jackson. I couldn't drive. Luckily, my cousin Amanda, one of my best friends, lives in Jackson, and I called her and said, come get me. She came to get me. I called my mom and daddy, cried my eyes out, and I especially started bawling when I was talking to daddy because he has had cancer twice. He has had adenocarcinoma, which is esophageal cancer. They gave him a 20% chance to live a year with chemo. They basically said, cash out your retirement, take your family to Hawaii, enjoy them while you're on this earth, and that was about 10 years ago. So praise God, they were wrong. And it's not because they were medically wrong, it's just that God showed up and we hit it aggressively. Daddy was taking these supplemental vitamins and juices that are not what the doctors prescribed, but Dr. Tower, who is his oncologist and also mine, said if I were you, if I thought eating grass would help, I'd be eating grass every meal. So we took that and ran with it, and here my daddy is. Who knows why he survived when, and so many people don't. We don't know, but we're not questioning why anymore. So I called Daddy and I said, Daddy, I have cancer, and I was just, actually, I think what I just said was, I was crying. I just said, Daddy, because, Mama knew, and that's all I could get it out of my mouth. So Amanda brought me home. By the time I got home, half of my family was already there. The problem is that my son, who at that point was 17 years old, was with his baby sister on his dad's side at her softball practice. He wasn't even near me where I could hold him and tell him myself. And at that point, because I was with 2 or 3 other ladies from our town, and my whole huge family knew. I was terrified he was going to find out from someone else besides me. So I called his daddy, and I said, I don't care what you have to do, but you get to Chisholm. Chisholm is my son. And, you know, he and I are divorced and don't always have the best relationship, but even his old tail recognized the brevity of the situation and left the job site, went straight to his daughter's practice and told Chisholm, you know, I got it, buddy, just go ahead and go home. I got off work early. I said, don't tell him, don't even give him any inclination that there's something wrong. So Chisholm came right home, and when he pulled up and saw those people, he immediately was thinking, you know, our family gets together a whole lot, but there was an undertone, and he, you know, at 17 knew that there was something wrong. So my husband at the time and I sat down with him and just told him, and he cried. And at 17, you know, you don't want to hear that your mother is sick. And I told him, I said, my goal is to be here and watch you get married and have children, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to be here. He immediately turned into the kid that I have always been so proud to have, and that's the one that jumps in and takes care of his mama when it needs to happen. That boy at 17 years old was doing things that no kid has to do. He really didn't have to, because I had such a huge support system that entire time. But it was sure nice to know that my son will jump in there and take care of his mama when she's old and feeble, because he certainly did then. I am a take charge type A personality kind of gal, so as soon as I got over the shock, I was, let's get these suckers off me. I didn't care what the doctor said. I wanted bilateral mastectomy. I wanted them gone. I was always, I have a small frame, and I had ugly, saggy, uneven boobs. One was a B and one of them was like a negative A. I mean, it was bad. And I'd always jokingly said that I wanted to get a breast augmentation. All my life I wanted big boobs, or bigger ones that made my shirt stick out. And at that moment, I just said, I'd take it all back, God. I'll keep these uneven, yucky boobs if it means that I don't have to go through this and my family doesn't have to watch me. You know, imagine being my mother. Imagine you having to hear that your child has cancer. You know, it's no different for her than it was for a parent who has a 5-year-old. When you're their baby from the time of conception until the time you leave this earth. So now, looking back, I hurt the most for my mama and my daddy, of course, because daddy had gone through it, and I guess maybe that's why he was so upset. He knew how it felt, and he did not want his baby to have to go through the same thing. So I called my gynecologist and said, guess what? They were floored. They couldn't believe it either. And immediately he called in some favors and got me into Dr. Tower at the West Clinic, who is the leading oncologist in the Southeast and close to the nation as well. He's also Daddy's oncologist, so that was the one we wanted in the first place. We slid in for an appointment the very next week, and to have to wait a week knowing that you have cancer in your body is torture. Right after that, the next day was the alumni game, and those boys, I'm gonna try not to cry. Those boys showed out. This whole team of teenage boys went and got pink laces for their cleats. They painted pink breast cancer ribbons on the field. They all had pink bracelets on. They wore pink underneath. Like some of the alumni, some of the guys who had graduated from Halls High School were also wearing pink. I'll include some pictures at the end of this vlog. It was heartwarming and amazing, and I am so proud to be a part of this town and to have that kind of support system. Soon after that, t-shirts were being made, and people were just jumping up and praying, and it was a wonderful / horrible time. It really shows you how much support you have in your community and how much you're loved. I had my mastectomy scheduled for June 21st, and I immediately chose, well, first, sorry, I digress, let me go back. When I went to have my appointment with my surgeon, he told me that it was scary that I had breast cancer at that young age, and that there was something underlying that bothered him. He said, if you were my daughter and she had breast cancer, I would say both breasts. He said, you really don't have a choice. You need both of them off. Because, friends, if you have breast cancer in one breast, there is an 85% chance that it will come back in the other breast. Get them both off. I cannot stress that enough. Get them off. It will come back. Why go through this twice? So I scheduled a bilateral. And I also chose to have reconstructive surgery because at 36 years old, I might not be out there partying and dating, but I still wanted to feel like a woman. It was just my choice, and so many choose not to have reconstructive surgery, and hats off to them. I think it's just a personal choice. After my mastectomy went fine, they started reconstruction that day. They implanted, what are those things called? My mind is gone, by the way. They implanted a type of mechanism that would already start stretching my chest wall immediately. I was in the hospital for about 4 days, and then when I came home, I had a house full. My mother-in-law, my mother, everybody was cleaning the house and cooking and taking care of me. It was extremely painful, I will not lie, but something felt wrong. And the night that I got home, I just had this searing pain in my abdomen. It made me double over. Everybody just said, well, maybe your intestines, your body hasn't woken up from the anesthetic. My mother, bless her, filled me with 4 enemas. I'm sorry, my brain is just shot today. 4 enemas, and finally, when it just kept not working, I was on the commode, but nothing was coming out but the juice but the liquid from the enema. I was crying. I said, please leave my booty alone. Please leave me alone. I was throwing up profusely. So then they got online and started Googling natural ways to use the bathroom, because the doctor said she's got to go to the bathroom. And who would have thought, me, the girl who potties every time I eat, could not go to the bathroom? My stomach looked like I was about 6 months pregnant. They were applying me with bananas, apple juice, you name it, things that would make you go to the bathroom, and nothing was working. I would throw up everything that came in my body. By 1 a.m., I was unconscious. I don't remember anything from this time. The only memories I have are what the people in my family told me. I was writhing on the floor when I was awake, but they said they could look in my face and I wasn't there. My mind wasn't there. And I was just screaming and rolling around the floor. And then I would just lay there in the fetal position, clutching my gut and not make any noise. And they said that's what scared them the most. So they decided at the ER, we walked in, and it happened to be a girl who I know. And my first thought wasn't this, because I was in too much pain, but my mother said that their first thought was, we don't want this to get out. Just because we did not want to portray this as, woe is me, look at me, everybody, the whole unspoken prayer request that people put on Facebook that drives us all mad. It's just for attention. And we did not at all want this to be about getting attention. We just wanted me to get well and move on with our lives. But she was the most professional and took the most amazing care of me. Her name is Heather Stillman. She was fantastic. They did an x-ray and saw that my large intestines had twisted. It's called an ileus, and it happens to about 1 in 300,000 patients. So, once again, the odds are against me. They said she's going to have surgery. So they sent me by ambulance back to Baptist East. And when my surgeon walked in, he said, "Girl, in 30 years of being a surgeon, this has never happened to any of my patients." And I was like, "Yo, dude, I wish that it didn't happen to me." They put an NG tube down my throat while I was conscious. And I said, "Please, before you do this, please just put me under. Please put me to sleep." And they said, "We can't do it. You have to be awake to swallow." So they put a tube that's about that big. It was huge, down my throat. And I had to swallow it all the way down into my stomach. And before they did it, I said, "What about all those times that Axl Rose OD'd, or all these rock stars, and you have to pump his stomach?" Because that's initially what the NG tube does. I mean, they're not awake. They're unconscious. They said, "Rod Stewart, whoever, you're Shauna, and you have to be awake." One of the worst experiences of my entire life. Another one's coming up right after this, but this was horrible. They had tied my hands down to the bed rail so I wouldn't jerk it out. And my ex-husband was on one leg, my mother was on the other, hold my legs down so I wouldn't kick anybody. And the girl who did it was new. When she walked in, the other nurse, the seasoned nurse, they were both crying because they hate doing this to people. And as she was threading it down my throat, it was coming right back up. It had made a U, and she did not stop when she should have. So it was coming back out the other end. And so they said my eyes were bugged out, and they thought I was dying. They reached across and got her by her lapel and said, "You stop this, there's something wrong." So the other nurse steps in and just apologized profusely, pulled it back out like it was a ripcord, and said, "We have to do it again." So one more time they sent it down my throat, and I was like that for 24 hours, pumping the nasty out of my throat, out of my stomach and my intestines, because my stomach and my other organs were not awake from the anesthesia. I was in the hospital for a few days with that. No eating, no drinking, no ice chips, no nothing. And my throat was on fire. I didn't sleep for the entire time I was there. My throat was on fire. My cousin is a nurse, and she snuck some Chloraseptic into the hospital room, and I just sprayed that on my throat for the 24 hours straight. I was awake. It was miserable, but I made it. I kept thinking, there's somebody out there who has it worse than me. And this story is long. Know how I know? Because my recorder keeps hitting maximum capacity. I'm probably going to have to edit. Lord have mercy. So I finally got to come home, and that started a months-long process of recuperation. Now, during this time, I had gotten the genetic testing done because they said it's an anomaly that you and your daddy both have have cancer. So, sure enough, we have what's called the BRCA2 gene, and that is a genetic mutation of your DNA, and it means that we are more prone to cancer than the regular person. Daddy has 10 brothers and sisters. 6 of them tested positive. So far, 4 of the grandchildren, i.e. me and my cousins, have tested positive, have gotten cancer. And because mine is genetic and it was a hormone-driven cancer, ductal carcinoma in situ, which means breast cancer of the milk ducts, I had to have a complete and radical hysterectomy also. Dr. Tower said that, once again, when you have this gene, if you will have breast cancer and you will have ovarian cancer. There is no question. It just happens. So even though I only had one child and had been desperately wanting another, I had a hysterectomy 2 months later. So I did have my reconstructive surgery, and I will tell you that I do not judge people who have plastic surgery, because you can get addicted to this stuff. I kept wanting more and more and more, and I definitely have my shirt sticking out now. But you know, I had some ugly comments from people. They were saying things like, you know, wait, that's a great way to get a boob job, and I really didn't have cancer, and just these asinine, evil, black-hearted comments. And to all of you who said that, and who maybe didn't say it but repeated it, you keep having thoughts like that and you're going to hell. You don't talk about somebody who has cancer, and you don't judge their battle regardless of what it was. I did not have to have chemo, and I thank God for that every single day, because I watched my daddy go through that. I watched my mother-in-law go through that. She did not survive. I have several family members who had to go through it, and it's hell. And I'm thankful. There are friends of mine who are going through it at this moment, and it's hell. So I'm thankful I didn't have to. And why would I wish that upon anyone? I'll never get over these people. Evil, evil, evil. If it's you, I'm talking to you. You're evil and worthless. Anyway, I had reconstructive surgery, and I'll tell you, that was the most painful experience. The mastectomy didn't hurt near like the reconstruction did. They have a magnetic opening on the prosthetic implants that they put inside your chest, and then they use a metal needle that finds the magnet, and every week you went in for fills. And that meant that they injected saline or into these, I will remember the name by the time I am done with this video, and I will kick myself in the hiney for not remembering it. They inject saline into these objects that I cannot remember the name of, and it just pushes your chest out. It's like when you have braces and it moves your teeth times about 500. That's the pain, because it's moving something that doesn't want to be moved. And then you just do it until you get your desired size. This is not a boob job. It is not a breast augmentation. It is reconstructive surgery due to breast cancer. Get it right. I have scars from one end to the other, all over my body. And although Dr. Chandler did a beautiful job of reconstructing my breasts, they are reconstructive breasts. They are not natural. They are not even close to real. There is zero fat in my chest wall because my entire chest wall was removed. It is skin and implant. So when my sweet boyfriend lays his head on my chest, I'm sure it feels like concrete, but he doesn't complain. In fact, he says he loves me just the way I am, so there is specialness in that. I had, in December of that year, so it was mastectomy in June, implants were implanted in October, and then hysterectomy in November. I was off of work from November through December, and I was supposed to start back in January. January the 2nd of 2013, my vaginal cuff collapsed, and I was in Memphis after a doctor's appointment, and my intestines started sliding down through my vagina. I'm gonna let that sink in. And I crawled over to West Clinic, which was across the street from my plastic surgeon's office, and they instantly checked me, and they were amazed. They said, "I don't know how you walked in here. I don't know how. I don't know how you're even here." And they picked me up. The ambulance pulled up, backed up to West Clinic. The paramedics came into the office waiting room, And they picked me up by my legs and said, do not move. Your intestines are coming out, and if you move, you could die. They carried me like that on the gurney and wheeled me straight into the OR. And the nurses were like, you still have on earrings. I said, I still have on blue jeans and shoes. They were too terrified to move me, to undress me before surgery, so they cut my clothes off and repaired my vaginal cuff. That put me another month bed rest and out of school. So during that time, I was shook, I was throwing up, there was blood everywhere, and I kept that to myself because it's not the kind of thing that you want people to know. You want to be sunshiny and smiley and say, you know, girl power, let's fight this. Cancer don't have me, I've got cancer, blah, blah, blah. And all that stuff is true. But in the end, when you have haters who make ugly comments and say things like, I barely had cancer, I want to shake them and say, you don't know jack. After all that drama, I had nipples constructed from myself and made me nipples from the skin underneath my scars from my mastectomy. And then they tattooed on areolas. And this is just, to me, technology is amazing. So that ended my breast cancer journey. Now, from then on, because I have the gene, I went to the doctor every month, to 3 different doctors for a year, and then just to 2 for the next year, and then just the one, my oncologist, for the next 3. So here I am on the way for my very last oncology appointment. And after a 45-minute video, I'm gonna end it here, and I'll start back up when we get to West Clinic, but I can't wait to say goodbye. Well, I had a great visit. He was just as charming as ever and extremely intelligent. He's such a smart doctor. Whenever he came to my door, I heard him outside saying, oh, hey, this is the cousin to our newest patient. The fact that he remembers, I mean, he has thousands of patients, unfortunately, and he is so in tune with each and every one of us that he remembers just the smallest detail. Because my cousin has just been diagnosed with the same breast cancer as I have. I think I already told you that. I don't know. But right now, I'm trying not to cry because it's not my last visit. There's nothing wrong with me. He said I'm healthy as a horse, which I already knew that. And how my numbers are wonderful and all this. But he just would feel more comfortable if he would see me in 6 months. I don't know why I'm upset, because there's nothing wrong with me. I'm clean. I'm healthy. I have no cancer. But I guess I just built it up so much to be my last visit and to being done with all this. One more time, guys. July 20th. Let me wipe this face. July 20th is my last appointment. So, anyway, I'm just such a crybaby for crying. It was a good visit. I just am ready to be done. Alright. I'm going to be on my way back to my little town. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.